You are tuned in to the second episode of Outside the Box. I'm your host, Margot, and we're going to be discussing the origins of the Ouija board. Printed with letters and numbers, and a use of a pointer called the planchette to spell out mysterious messages in mysterious ways, the board is used to communicate with the spirit realm. In some cases, it was used to predict catastrophic events, solve mysteries, and commit crimes. The origin of the Ouija board has always carried some sort of evil omnipresence, dating back all the way to 551 BC in ancient China, and also in connection with ancient Rome. The board was used to predict the successor to the king. Once this information was made public, both were tried with treason, and the claimed successor was also immediately executed. In 1100 AD is when the Chinese adopted a name for the spirit board, which was the Fuji, and the Fuji was later banished by the Qing dynasty. So before the spirit board was even introduced to the modern world, 3 executions were associated with the board, therefore making this a marked object. In 1886 was the rebirth of the spirit board in Chestertown, Maryland. Spirituality was at an all-time high during the Civil War and World War I. People wanted to contact their deceased relatives. Not to mention during this time in the 18th century, the lifespan was very short, about 50 years or so. Due to many epidemics like influenza, cholera, yellow fever, without a cure, many children lost their lives and left their mothers to mourn. In the late 1800s, a man by the name of Charles Kennard moved to the eastern shore of Maryland after developing a secret fertilizer made of bones. That's right, made of bones. I don't know if they were human bones or animal bones, but just the fact that a fertilizer made out of bones is enough for me. But his success wouldn't last long after having to auction his company due to competitors and a drought. This is when Kennard was left with an enormous amount of debt. But that wasn't stopping Kennard. So when he met Mr. E.C. Reach was a furniture maker turned coffin maker turned undertaker. Yes, the both of these guys had some kind of fetish with death. Who knows? But during this time, newspaper reports began appearing about the talking board phenomenon that swept over Ohio. This in turn inspired Kennard and Reach to begin making spirit boards out of wood from the coffins. Now, these prototypes would be the ones that became the Ouija board. The ones that were made out of wood from the coffins were the very first prototypes of the Ouija board. It was Kennard that made the move to Baltimore to try and capitalize on the spirit board and begin pitching to potential investors. After numerous rejections, a local lawyer by the name of Elijah Bonds finally took interest. But what Kennard didn't know was that Elijah was no stranger to this type of thing. His sister-in-law, Helen Peters, was a spiritualist and was quite familiar with the spirit board. So after hosting a seance, Helen Peters was convincing enough to win over the team of skeptics at the patent office. So not only did she get credit for the stamp of approval of the Ouija board, but also for coming up with the name Ouija, which means good luck. Shortly after Kennard obtained his patent in 1890, the Ouija was created and manufactured for spiritual communication and sold at Kennard Novelty Company, which was oddly incorporated the day before Halloween. By the early 1890s, some 2,000 Ouija boards were being sold per week. Kennard Novelty was doing so well that Mr. Kennard decided to cash out early. This is when the Fuld brothers took over, William and Isaac Fuld, who worked and invested in Kennard Novelty Company, who gained full control of the Ouija business. The brothers went on to make millions. They continued to manufacture boards, not just in Baltimore, but elsewhere, significantly expanding their business. It wasn't until 1901 that things turned sour for the brothers. Isaac had his license revoked by Kennard Novelty and was no longer able to manufacture boards. Isaac became so outraged that he had his baby daughter's body exhumed and relocated from the full family burial plot. Neither side of the family would speak for the next 96 years. In addition to the Fuld brothers ending their relationship and splitting their families apart, William Fuld would suffer a tragic accident after the Ouija board told him to prepare for big business. Did you hear me? The Ouija board actually told William Fuld to prepare for big business. This is when he built the Hartford Avenue factory, overseeing the installation of a flag on an iron railing gate. When he was overseeing the installation of a flag, an iron railing gave way and he fell off the roof of the structure. William Fuld suffered from cracked ribs and a pierced heart, which in turn caused his death. Before passing, Fuld made his children promise never to sell the Ouija out of the business. The children honored their father's wishes for a while, but eventually sold the rights to the Ouija board to what we know is now Parker Brothers, which promptly moved it to the base operations in Salem, Massachusetts. So let's recap on that. So of course the children honored their father's wishes. They sold to Parker Brothers, who we know now to make all games, which they moved their operations base to Salem, Massachusetts in 1967, which was the first year the Ouija board was headquartered in a town infamous for the Salem witch trials. Ouija sold 2 million boards that year. The Ouija board's nonpartisan relationship between good and evil gave way to a mere sinister reputation after the exorcist Captain Howdy, the demon who eventually takes possession of Reagan's soul. The board's occult status was cemented. From the very beginning, there's been a dark side to the Ouija's origin story. It's been a series of events that has taken place to create this object. I believe a spell has been cast unknowingly from beyond. If you didn't catch it, go ahead and hit that replay button and pay close attention to the details. It is the details in the story that will scare you. Something is definitely wrong. Hit me up in the comment section and tell me what you think. Peace.